Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's, what the heck is the date? I think it's the 17th. Should be the 17th, yeah. So it's Tuesday night. Dropped the load over in St. Louis. Came over to Springfield. The trailer I picked up was preloaded in Michigan. It had some airbag issues, so I'm glad I just came over here empty, and doing a class tomorrow, and I might have some time to meet with some people in reefer ops to discuss some of the stuff that I have been talking about the past couple of videos. So as you could probably tell from the thumbnail, it looks like Prime sent out a fleet-wide on Jason Pearson, and let me just address this, because I think a lot of people misconstrued what I was saying or what I had an issue with. I don't have an issue with somebody living their best life and just doing what they want to do. But when somebody vanishes and leaves behind their phones, their wallet, their keys, basically all their stuff, and just rides off into the sunset in the middle, not on the way, but in the middle of picking up a load at a shipper and receiver that many of us go to. If you know, I've been there at least in the past, just this year, at least a half a dozen times to that facility. So the idea that somebody went missing and no one, promulgated it was really disturbing to me and, a lot of other people at Prime. And let me just address the idea that there's some kind of legal issue. That's just bullshit, okay? When somebody vanishes and there's no explanation, the most beneficial thing is to get that information out to the public. And certainly people like their co-workers who would be traveling in the same place they would have been. Unless there's some kind of ransom note or something that says don't tell anybody or don't publicize this. If somebody's missing, time is of the essence. And so, and like I told, people at Prime were like, oh, well, the police have closed their investigation. And my response to that is, so what? Okay? There are, if you ever watch any true crime stuff, and I do sometimes on YouTube, I watch Cold Case Files with Bill Curtis. The police, even in interviews, even after they've had plenty of time to think about what they were going to say, often say stuff like, well, we had these two guys that we thought we liked these guys for this murder, but both of them had alibis, and then we were at a dead end. And then, you hear this case has been cold for 30 years, right? And this isn't to, I don't want to generalize about all police officers, but there's a lot of police officers that are like water. They take the path of least resistance. And if it's not blatantly obvious who did something wrong, especially in let's say it was a homicide. I'm not saying it is. But if or a missing persons case, they just throw up their hands like, yeah, we've run out of leads. And so, and the idea that Jason, they said, oh, a dog sensed that they got out of their truck and then the scent vanished, so that means they got in a car. Okay, so what? Gary Ridgway, by the way, is a Navy veteran, the Green River Killer, and one of the most prolific serial killers ever in the United States. Every single one of his victims voluntarily got in his vehicle, and they all ended up dead. Okay, just because somebody voluntarily got in a vehicle doesn't mean they haven't come to harm. So that's my whole point, right? Yes, I don't know what happened, but neither does anybody else. And so the idea that they didn't at least tell people that a driver went missing is a problem. And I'm glad that they've rectified it, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate that somebody was willing to interact with me about it, via email. And sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I'm not going to stop advocating for people that can't advocate for themselves. I'm not going to stop sticking up for truck drivers and the working man, and just trying to level the playing field and use my skill set to do what I used to do for clients. And so that's that. And hopefully everything turns out. But if you watched Richie Rich's video, there's a guy that was in law enforcement, big city police department. He was on Metro PD in DC. He's been around the block a few times. If you haven't seen his video about this issue, that we're talking about, go check it out. Trucker Richie Rich. He raises some important points, stuff that I hadn't mentioned, and I don't think Lyle mentioned. And what I said to somebody here at Prime is, police can say they closed an investigation, and they'll leave it closed until somebody finds a body, or somebody in jail admits to doing harm to the person that supposedly just left of their own volition. Because like I said, if you ever watched any mafia movies, pretty much, if you ever watch Goodfellas, pretty much everybody that got murdered in that movie, went with their murderers. The Joe Pesci character went with his murderers. Maury went with his murderers, voluntarily. And I'm not saying that this is a homicide or anything like that. I'm just raising the point, So that's that. I'm wearing my Pac shirt because Tupac was murdered in September of 1996, September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas. Today in Henderson, Nevada, the Las Vegas Police Department served a search warrant in this case because no one's ever been arrested for the murder. If you know anything about it, there was a big fight at a casino after a brawl after a Mike Tyson fight, and then later on at a traffic light, Tupac was shot, and then he died a few days later in the hospital, but no one's ever been brought to justice for that murder. I don't think anybody's ever been arrested for Biggie Smalls' murder either. So it would be cool if they could solve that crime and stuff. So anyway, that's all the updates I got for you right now. I'm gonna be here for a while tomorrow. Gonna do the logs class, and probably get out of here tomorrow evening. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back, probably tomorrow or the next day with some more of my normal content. There's a trucking company that went bankrupt in Georgia I'm going to talk about because some of the numbers in their bankruptcy petition jumped out at me, and I want to just share some information that might be useful to people in the future. So anyway, stay tuned for that, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.